Hi friends, welcome to i-TUTOR NCERT series. Today we will discuss Class 7th Geography NCERT Chapter 4 Air. Our Earth is surrounded by a huge blanket of air called atmosphere. Okay, so we all know our Earth is surrounded by a blanket of air that is called atmosphere. All living organisms on this air depend on the atmosphere for their survival. It provides us the air we breathe and protects us from the harmful effect of the sun rays. Without this blanket of protection, we would be backed alive by the heat of the sun during day and get frozen during night. Okay, so if there is no blankets or if there is no atmosphere, what will happen? We would be baked alive by the heat of sun during the daytime and get frozen during the night time. So it is the mass of air that has made the temperature on the earth livable. Okay, so this is the mass of air that has the temperature on the earth. Okay, that made the temperature on the earth livable. Now look at this. Carbon dioxide released in the atmosphere creates a greenhouse effect by trapping the heat radiated from the earth. It is therefore called greenhouse gas, and without it the earth would have been too cold to live in. Okay, so the importance of carbon dioxide, okay, so called CO2, the importance of CO2, or how it is important, because the carbon dioxide released in the atmosphere creates a greenhouse effect. What is greenhouse effect? That is trapping the heat radiated from the earth. So this is called greenhouse gas. Okay, carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas, and without carbon dioxide the earth would have been too cold to live in. However, when its level in the atmosphere increases due to factory smoke or car fumes, the heat retained increases the temperature of the earth. So if the level of carbon dioxide increases, it is too bad for us. And this situation or this condition is called global warming. Okay, means the temperature of the atmosphere, the temperature of the earth is gradually increasing, and this leads to a situation called global warming. This rising temperature causes the snow in coldest part of the world to melt. As a result, the sea level rises, causing floods in the coastal areas, and there may be drastic changes in the climate of a place, leading to extinction of some plants and animal in a long run. Okay, so that is the carbon dioxide has both they have both useful and also bad experience or bad problems. Look at this. First one is the carbon dioxide helps for greenhouse effect, and it maintains the heat in our atmosphere, or it maintains the temperature in our atmosphere. But if the amount of carbon dioxide increases, what will happen? It leads to the increase in temperature, and which lead to global warming, and it causes sea level rising, floods in coastal areas, and also lead to the extinction of some plants and animals. Okay, so this is the problem. Now, composition of the atmosphere. Nitrogen and oxygen are two gases which make up the bulk of atmosphere. Okay, so nitrogen and oxygen. Nitrogen is 78% in the atmosphere and oxygen is 21%. So they are most abundant gases. So nitrogen and oxygen are two gases which make up bulk of the atmosphere. Carbon dioxide, helium, ozone, argon and hydrogen are found in lesser quantities. Okay, so the nitrogen and oxygen are the nitrogen 78% and oxygen is 21%, and other gases like carbon dioxide, helium, ozone, argon and hydrogen are seen in lesser amount or lesser quantity. Apart from these gases, tiny dust particles are also present in the air. Okay, first, nitrogen is the most plentiful gas in the air. When we inhale, we take some amount of nitrogen into our lungs and exhale it. Okay, normally we inhale oxygen, and when we inhale, we also take some amount of nitrogen into our lungs and we exhale it. But plants need nitrogen for their survival. Okay, human doesn't need nitrogen for their survival, but plants need the nitrogen for their survival. They cannot take nitrogen directly from the air. Okay, the plants cannot take nitrogen directly from the air. Some bacteria that live in the soil and the roots of some plants, that is leguminous plants, take nitrogen from the air and change it for its form so that plants can use it. Okay, so some bacteria live in the soil and the roots of some plants. Okay, such plants are called leguminous plants. Okay, some leguminous plants that take nitrogen from the air and change its form so that plant can use it. Now, second one, oxygen is the second most plentiful gas in the air. Humans and animals take oxygen from the air as they breathe. Green plants produce oxygen during photosynthesis. Okay, so normally what is photosynthesis? The green plants absorb carbon dioxide and they produce oxygen. Okay, with the help of sunlight. In this way, oxygen content in the air remains constant. Okay, so in this way, the oxygen content in the air remains constant. But if we cut trees, okay, if we cut the trees, then what happens? The balance get disturbed. Okay, because trees are helpful for the green plants are helpful for the balancing of oxygen in the air. So if we cut the trees, then the balance get disturbed. Now, carbon dioxide is another important gas. Green plants use carbon dioxide to make their food and release oxygen. Okay, so the process for the process of photosynthesis, green plants use carbon dioxide. Humans or animals release carbon dioxide. Okay, and also humans and animals release carbon dioxide. The amount of carbon dioxide released by humans or animals seem to be equal to the amount used by plants, which make a perfect balance. Okay, so when we exhale some amount of carbon dioxide and the same amount of carbon dioxide is inhaled or same amount of carbon dioxide is used by the plants. So it makes a perfect balance. Our atmosphere is divided into five layer. Okay, first one is troposphere, then stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere and exosphere. Okay, our atmosphere is divided into 5 layers. First one from ground level, troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere and exosphere. First one is troposphere. This layer is the most important layer of the atmosphere. Okay, troposphere is the most important layer of the atmosphere. Its average height is 13 km. Okay, the average height of troposphere is 13 km. The air we breathe exists here. Almost all weather phenomena, okay, almost all weather phenomena like rainfall, fog and hailstorm occur in this layer. Okay, so most of the weather phenomena like rainfall, fog, hailstorm occur in this layer. Which layer? Troposphere. Okay. Now, second layer is stratosphere. Okay, first layer is troposphere and second layer is stratosphere. Above the troposphere lies the stratosphere. Okay, the stratosphere lies above the troposphere. It extends up to a height of 50 kilometers. Okay, troposphere height is 13 kilometer, but stratosphere height is 50 kilometer, 50. This layer is almost free from clouds and associated weather phenomena. Okay, so that's why this makes condition most ideal for flying aeroplanes. Okay, why? Because the space or this layer is almost free from clouds and associated weather phenomena. There is no weather phenomena in this layer, so it make easy for the condition of flying aeroplanes. Okay. One important feature of stratosphere is it contains a layer of ozone. Okay, so this layer contains a layer of ozone gas. We just learned how it protects us from the harmful effect of the sun rays. Okay, we already know how ozone protects us from the harmful rays of the sun. Okay, so this ozone layer is, or this ozone gas is mainly present in this layer. Which layer? Stratosphere. Now, the third layer is mesosphere. Okay, third layer is mesosphere. This is the third layer of the atmosphere. It lies above the stratosphere. Extends up to a height of 80 km. Troposphere 13 km. Stratosphere 50 kilometers and mesosphere 80 kilometers, 80. Now, meteorites burn up in this layer. Okay, so the meteorites burn up in this layer on entering from the space. Okay, so the meteorites from the space burn up in this layer. Okay, that is called a mesosphere. Okay, third layer. Now, fourth layer is called thermosphere. In thermosphere, temperatures rises very rapidly. Okay, as the name denotes, the temperature rises very rapidly. That is thermosphere with increasing height. Okay, when the height increases, temperature also increases. Okay, in the thermosphere. Okay, but in troposphere, the height increases. What happened? Troposphere height increases, temperature decreases. Okay, that is the condition of troposphere. Okay, but in thermosphere, the height increases, also the temperature increases. Ionosphere is a part of this layer. Okay, so ionosphere is a part of thermosphere. It extends between 80 to 400 kilometer. Okay, 80 to 400. So 80 kilometers to 400 kilometers it extended. This layer helps in radio transmission. So what is the use of this layer? It helps in radio transmission. In fact, radio waves transmitted from the earth are reflected back to the earth by this layer. Okay, so that is the use of thermosphere. Now, the final layer or the last layer is exosphere. Okay, the uppermost layer of the atmosphere is known as exosphere. This layer has very thin air. Light gases like helium and hydrogen float into space from here. Okay, so this layer is almost it's almost related to the space. Okay, so there are 5 layers from stratosphere, from troposphere to exosphere. First one is troposphere. What is the uses of troposphere? All the weather phenomena like rainfall, fog, hailstorm are occur in this layer. Then second layer is stratosphere. It is free from clouds and associated weather phenomena, so it is ideal for flying aeroplanes. Then third is mesosphere. The meteors burn up in this layer on entering from the space. And next one is thermosphere. What happened in thermosphere? It helps in radio transmission. And final layer is exosphere. Okay. Look at this. First layer, troposphere. Okay. Now this is stratosphere. Okay, this is stratosphere. It is the ideal condition for flying aeroplanes and also ozone present. Now this is mesosphere. This is thermosphere and exosphere. Okay. Look at this. This is height and this is temperature. When the height increases, what happens? Temperature in troposphere decreases. Okay, but in stratosphere, the temperature also increases with increasing height. But in mesosphere, again, the temperature decreases with increasing height. And thermosphere, the temperature also increasing with increasing height. And also it continues to exosphere. Okay, so that's the relation between temperature and height in these layers. Sorry. Now, weather and climate. We know what is weather and what is climate, already discussed in the 6th class. Weather is the hour-to-hour or day-to-day condition of the atmosphere. So what is weather? Weather is the hour-to-hour or day-to-day condition of the atmosphere. A hot or humid weather may make one irritable. A pleasant, breezy weather may make one cheerful and even plan for outing. Weather can change dramatically from day to day. Okay, from one day to other day, that weather can be changed. But what is climate? The average weather condition. Okay, the average weather condition of a place for a longer period of time. This is called the climate of a place. Okay, so that is the difference between weather and climate. For example, maybe the climate weather of the Munnar. Today, the weather of the Munnar may be sunny, okay, or it's hot. But the climate of the place or climate of the Munnar is always winter, or it's like it's cold. Okay, it's cool because it's an hilly area. Okay, so that's the difference between weather and climate. Weather is the day-to-day change. Climate is the long-term. Okay, long-term weather condition. Now temperature. The degree of hotness and coldness is called, or of the air is known as temperature. What is temperature? Degree of hotness and coldness. It may be hot temperature and cold temperature. So the degree of hotness and coldness of the air is known as temperature. The temperature of the atmosphere changes not only between day and night, but also from season to season. Okay, so the temperature is not changing on the day and night, but also from season to season. Summer are hotter than winter. Okay, we know summer are hotter season. An important factor that influences the distribution of temperature is insolation. Insolation means incoming solar energy. Okay, that is called insolation. Look at here. The insolation is the incoming solar energy. The incoming solar energy intercepted by the earth. The amount of insolation decreases from equator towards the pole. Okay, so the incoming solar energy decreases towards the equator to poles. Assume this is sun and this is earth, equator, and these are poles. Now look, sunrise directly falls on the equatorial region. Okay, and it falls on the pole region in an inclined version. So the temperature is less there. Okay, so that's the reason. The amount of insolation means incoming solar energy or solar radiation. So this is decreases from equator towards pole. Okay, from equator to poles, this energy or this radiation is decreases. This is the reason. Okay. So therefore the temperature also decreases. The equatorial region have high temperature and the poles have low temperature. Okay, this is the reason for that. If the Earth's temperature rises too high, it would become too warm for some crops to grow. Temperature in cities is much higher than the villages. The concrete and metal in buildings and the asphalt of the roads get heated up during the day. This heat is released during the night. Also, the crowded high-rise buildings of the cities trap the warm air and thus rise the temperature of the cities. Okay, so that's why the city is experiencing high temperature. Okay, these are the reason for. Standard unit of measuring temperature is degree Celsius. Okay, we know degree Celsius is the standard unit of measuring temperature. It was invented by Anders Celsius. On the Celsius scale, the water freezes at 0 degrees Celsius and boils at 100 degrees Celsius. Okay. Air pressure. Air pressure is defined as the pressure exerted by the weight of air on its surface. Okay, so what is air pressure? Air pressure is defined as the pressure exerted by the weight of air on Earth's surface. As we go up the layers of atmosphere, the pressure falls rapidly. The air pressure is highest at sea level and decreases with height. Okay, so when the height decreases, okay, the height decreases, the air pressure also increases. Okay, the air pressure is highest at the sea level and it decreases with the height. Okay, when means when the height increases, the pressure decreases. Okay, and it is highest at the sea level. Okay, then height increases, pressure decreases. Okay. Horizontally, the distribution of air pressure is influenced by temperature of the air at a given place. In areas where temperature is high, the air gets heated and rise. Okay, so if a place have high temperature, then what happened? The air get heated and they started to rise. This creates a low pressure area. Okay, low pressure is associated with cloudy skies and wet weather. Okay, so that is the condition. If the temperature of a place, okay, the temperature of the area is high, then what happened? The air rises from here. Okay, if the temperature is high here, then the air rises from here and it creates a low pressure area in this place. And this low pressure area is associated with the cloudy skies and wet weather. In areas having low temperature, the air is cold. Okay, in areas having low temperature, here is high temperature. Okay, high temperature, low pressure. Now, in areas having low temperature, the cold air is cold and therefore heavy. Okay, the air is therefore heavy. So heavy air sinks and create a high pressure area. Okay, so in low temperature, what happened? The air is very heavy. Okay, the air is heavy and they started to sink and form a high pressure area. Okay, so if the temperature is low, then it's high pressure. If the temperature is high, then it is low pressure. High pressure is associated with clear and sunny skies. The air always moves from higher pressure area to lower pressure areas. Okay, the air always moves from high pressure to low pressure areas. Okay, that is the movement of air we called wind. Okay, from high pressure to low pressure area. This is called wind. Okay. Look at this. The movement of air from high pressure area to low pressure area is called wind. Okay, the high pressure area, the movement of air from high pressure to low pressure is called wind. Wind can be broadly divided into three types. Okay, first one is permanent wind. Second one is seasonal winds, and last one is local winds. So wind can be classified into three, broadly classified or broadly divided into three. First one is permanent winds, that is trade winds, westerlies and easterlies. Okay, so these are called permanent winds. These are permanent. Okay, there is no changes. These blow constantly throughout the year in a particular direction. Okay, so these winds blow in a particular direction throughout the year. Second one is seasonal winds. These winds change their direction in different season. Okay, so these winds change their direction in different season. For example, monsoon in India is seasonal winds. Now, last one is local wind. These blow only during a particular period of the year or in a small area. For example, land and sea breeze. Okay, this is they only blow on a particular period. Okay. Now, moisture. When water evaporates from land and different water bodies, it becomes water vapor. Okay, so water evaporates and forms water vapor. Moisture in the air at any time is known as humidity. So what is humidity? Humidity is the amount of moisture in the air at any time. When the air is full of water vapor, we call it a humid day. Okay, if the water vapor in the air is full, then we call it as a humid day. As the air gets warmer, its capacity to hold the water vapor increases and so it becomes more and more humid. Okay, on a humid day, clothes take longer to dry and sweat from our body does not. Now, when the water vapor rises, it starts cooling. The water vapor condenses, causing formation of droplets of water and clouds formed. These clouds are just masses of such water droplets. Okay, so when the water vapor rises then and started cooling. Look at this. Here the water vapor rises and it starts cooling. What happened? The water vapor condenses, causing formation of droplets of water. Okay, so it formed the droplets of water. Now, the clouds are just formed due to this process. Okay, due to this process, the clouds are formed and the masses of the clouds increases. When these droplets of water become too heavy, okay, when these drops are too heavy, it can't stay there and they suddenly come down. This is called precipitation, or this is called this precipitation in many forms like rain, hailstorms, etc. Jet planes flying in the sky leave a white trail behind them. The moisture from their engines condenses. We see trails of this condensed moisture for some times when there is no air movement to disturb it. Precipitation that comes down to the earth in a liquid form is called rain. So this precipitation in the liquid form is called rain. Most of the groundwater comes from rainwater. Plants helps preserve water. When trees on hillsides are cut, rainwater flows down the bare mountains and cause flooding of the lower areas. On the basis of mechanism, there are three types of rainfall. Okay, so rainfall are of three types. The first one is conventional rainfall. Second one is orographic rainfall. And final one is cyclonic rainfall. So there are three types of rainfall. First one is conventional rainfall, orographic rainfall and cyclonic rainfall. It is very important for the survival of plants and animals. So rain is important for the survival of plants and animals. It brings fresh water to the earth's surface. If rainfall is less, water scarcity and drought occur. On the other hand, if it is more, then floods take place. Okay, look at this picture. This is cyclonic rainfall and this is orographic or relief rainfall and this is conventional rainfall. Okay, so there are three types of rainfall. These are the types of rainfall. So that's all about the chapter. If you have any doubts, you can comment below. For more videos, do like, share, subscribe.